Kiki. You want to be in the video? Hey everybody, welcome back. So today I am doing a review of the fantasy series The Song of Ice and Fire. This is the HBO series that Game of Thrones is based off of. There are currently 5 books in the series. I have all 5 of them, and the author claims that the next one is coming out soon-ish, but doesn't have a release date. I don't think he's finished with it yet, but says that he's getting close. I don't necessarily keep up to date on everything that he's doing with these. Okay, so I'm going to talk about things that I like and things that I don't like about the series. But for this book, I made lemon bars because there's a character in this series, Sansa, who enjoys lemon cake. So I made lemon bars because it matches, even though it's not the same. Alright, so I'm going to talk about some of the things that I like, some of the things that I don't like, things that are kind of frustrating, and I guess maybe what I hope to happen. So, there's 5 books in the series right now, and the plot and everything is pretty intense. You are basically following several, well, it has a lot of political intrigue in it, I guess. So there's these major families in the world of Westeros, and you're following these different families from the points of view of the different members of the family. So kind of the main ones that you follow, you have the Starks, and these are the ones that live further up north. They have the dire wolves, and that's their, I guess that's their signal, is the dire wolf, which are these like really giant wolves. They're pretty cool. And they all have one in this. They find at the beginning of the series, they find these dire wolf pups and decide to raise them as their own. And there's quite a few characters in that storyline. The next family that we follow is the Lannisters, and they're kind of the ones we all love to hate. If you saw the HBO series, these guys were not given very good. They were not painted in a very good light. And I'm not saying it wasn't earned, because they were not the best people. But you have the dwarf and the twins are kind of the main ones in this family, and their children. Cersei is a Lannister, and she's married to the king. Robert Baratheon is the king. He's best friends with Eddard Stark, and the Baratheon has a couple of brothers, and he's married to Cersei, and there are a couple of children in the mix, but not necessarily the children of Robert Baratheon. We'll just say that. Although I think everybody kind of knows the story. Most people have seen the series, and if you haven't seen the series, those are usually the people who watch these videos. So the last family we follow is the Targaryens, and these were the previous king that was usurped by Baratheon and his buddies. They were known as like they were kind of crazy, they were the Mad Kings, and they were up to things that weren't very good for the country. So basically they just took over and sent them away. So you've got the 2 children. So you have Daenerys and Viserys. They're brother and sister. They're the last of the Targaryens. Well, they're not the last, but they're one of the last. Anyway, they've been kicked out of Westeros, and they're trying to find their way back so that they can reclaim their crown. So those are kind of the main houses and the main general idea. But the story is really complex. There's a lot of things going on. And each person and each house, everybody has like their own struggles that they're dealing with while all sorts of things are going on. And then you have the area they call the Wall, which is kind of where all of the societal rejects go. And they go there to protect Westeros from the wildlings, who are the people who live beyond the Wall, and the others, as they call them, which are, well, they're kind of a mystery. They just know that they have something to do with raising army of dead, and I mean, something's going on with them, but I would say in the books you really don't know as much as you did in the series. So the books follow all these different characters, and you're constantly changing character to character, and the thing about them is that as you're in each character and learning about each character, like, you really get inside that character's head, and you find out like what's going on for them, what means anything to them, what wars and battles they're fighting, not only within themselves, but on the outside. When you're in Cersei's mind, you really understand why she does the things she does. You might hate her for it, and she, like I said, she's the one we love to hate, but you kind of understand what she's going through, and you also understand why her children are the way they are, because she is the way she is. And when you have her for a mother, that's what you become as a child. So I really liked that part of the series about how in depth I felt like that you got in everybody's head. I also felt like the characters in the book were better than the characters in the show. Don't mean to continually compare them, but I did like the characters better because you really understood more of what they were going through. And you might see the same situation from different points of view, and it would make you question, well, what really happened, or which one is really right, because they both think that they're right in that situation, and sometimes you just gotta pick sides, or don't pick sides, and maybe that was the way that George R.R. Martin meant to write them. But I thought that was really well done. So this being a fantasy series, there are some magical elements to it. I won't say that they're in-depth, like really high magic systems like Brandon Sanderson might have. But you certainly have people who have more than a normal human capabilities. And I guess those characteristics make them interesting. There are some things that they say, you know, this was probably just a trick that this person was doing in order to fool someone into believing a certain way. But, you know, there are a lot of kind of magical elements, but it's not really set in stone, like this is the magic system, this is how it works. You just kind of find out, oh, this person does this, or this person does that. There's some necromancy. Obviously, there's dragons. Everyone likes the dragons. And so there's kind of some magical elements about how the dragons come to be. So one of the more frustrating things that I found, and I didn't really find this, I guess, something that I necessarily didn't like about the book, it was just frustrating. Because there are times when, as a reader, you know more of what's going on than, say, the character who you're following at the point. So you know that this certain event happened, and this character doesn't know, and they're going on as though this event hasn't happened. But of course they don't know, and so when they make choices that affect this event that they don't know about, it gets kind of frustrating as a reader, because you're like, no, like, don't do that. You don't do that because this happened and you just don't know it yet. So, but I guess that actually seems like more realistic, as if this was realistic at all, right? As if this was a realistic story, but it kind of makes it to where you see, like, oh, like, this person doesn't know everything that's going on, and until they get informed, like, hey, this is what's going on, they're going to act in a certain way, but it caused some frustration for me for the character. And if I'm going to compare it to the TV show, I have to say I like the books better. The TV show absolutely favors certain characters, and I'm not saying that those aren't great characters in the book, but they're just a little different. They're a little darker. Their motivations are not as pure as they make them out to be in the series. So I think that the show creators kind of favored certain characters and made them seem a little better than others, and made others a little bit more villainous than they were in the book. And obviously, like, having read all the books, I can see where the show kind of deviated from the series and kind of where it all went wrong. Because, yeah, we all know how that ended. It didn't go well. So my biggest problem with the whole series is that it's not done. There's 5 books written, and supposedly there's one more coming out, but there's supposed to be 2 more in the series. And it doesn't seem likely that the series will be completely finished at any point. So hopefully the next book comes out. I would really be happy if the last book would come out, but we've as other fans have said, like, it's been like 10 years now, and there's still no last 2 books. So I know that the author has been working on other things, and that's fine. It's just, it'd be nice if you just ended the series so we could find out what happens. We would all like to know what happens. But hey, he's doing his own thing, but that is certainly frustrating. If you're considering picking up the series, I would say just know it's not finished, and there's a good chance it won't be finished. So not only that, in the last 2 books, So we had A Feast for Crows and A Dance with Dragons, and these two take place at the same time. So you're reading this one, and you're like, hey, where are these other characters that I'm so used to reading about? Because they're not even in this book. And then they show up in this book, but it's taking place at the same time. So by the time you get to the end of this book, then you're going kind of backwards in time as you're starting the next one. So that was a little annoying, but I believe that there's a kind of a guide that says this is the order you should read the chapters in. So anyway, that's kind of annoying with the last two books. I'm actually grateful that I got to read them both at the same time and I wasn't waiting, because I didn't pick these up till last year. So I did get to finish all of the ones that were written and not have to wait. But now I have to wait for the next one. And on top of that, those did not end well. For any of the characters, they did not end well at all. So we're kind of left with what's going to happen next, because we have no idea. Some people are dead, or maybe they're not dead. I don't know. It just kind of ended. But they were almost all of them were in really bad places, and then they just left it there. And I guess the other thing is that there's a lot of plots going on, and I guess I'm not sure how they're all going to get tied up. Hopefully they do, but that's kind of, I guess it's one of those things that's just really a complicated read. If you like complicated books, if you like complicated read, it's fine. But there are a lot of plots going on, and some of them I'm just not as interested in as others. Certainly have my favorite characters and people I like following, and even people that I might not like them as characters, but I still am interested in whatever's going on for them, and others I could care less. And sometimes we just spend time with the people I could care less about. Okay, so that's kind of my thoughts on Song of Ice and Fire. Overall, I do enjoy the series. I suggest people read it if you like that kind of thing. Be warned that it's kind of dark, and I'm sure you could find every horrible thing that you could imagine happens in one or more of the books. And sometimes you might be following a character and you're like, you really like that character, and then they die. And in some ways it's frustrating, because it seemed like that plot or that character or those characters had more things that they were going to do, and you were like enjoying following them, and then all of a sudden they just aren't there anymore. And I don't know, maybe the author didn't know what to do with them, so he just decided to kill them off. Which, hey, that's fine too, because then we all get that shock factor, and we go, oh my, and I guess that's over. Except maybe it's not, because, necromancy. So overall, I enjoy them. They're one of my favorite fantasy series. I just wish that they would get finished. I know that there's a prequel out. I haven't read it. I struggled to decide if I even want it, because do I want to read something else that might not get finished? So here's the books. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you like it, please like and subscribe. I post new videos on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And have some cake. Some lemon cake.